Welcome to the What's Your Weird Story podcast.
Everyone has at least one good story.
And some of us have stories that are just to the left of normal.
We're interested in the ones that push the boundaries of what we can perceive.
Stories that defy explanations.
Stories with an air of mystery.
Stories we might not share
for fear of being thought of differently.
But don't worry, we're all friends here. So, what's your weird story?
Hello, Weirdsville. I'm your co-host, Barry Johnston. With me, as always, Mr. Adam Beebe. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Barry.
We are here for your weekly installment of The Weird. And today we've brought back one of our former guests, and he's been kind enough to make some time during these weird COVID-19 times. He set aside some time for us to get together again, and we were welcoming back Anthony to the podcast.
That's right. Anthony is back, and he was he felt that he had more to share and that he could do better, I guess. But he did great on his first episode.
He did great.
But he felt like, I can take it. I can step it up a notch. I can bring it. My game can be better. Now he's back. And he's got some cool stuff for us, man.
Yeah, it's good. I'm when he told me, he's like, man, I want to get back on there. I think I can do better. I'm like, dude, we do what we do, and our conversations meander like they do. So we had a great time, and he's got some great stories.
Yeah. And that's always one of the great and fun, pleasurable things about here. Whenever we just start on our subjects, the stories that our guests have, and we just kind of, let things happen organically and grow, and conversations will go to unknown places, and it's fun. So, so that's what we've got for you today.
Yeah, for sure. And we hope that everyone out there is staying safe and, doing the things that we need to do to get through this thing.
Wash your hands.
Yep.
Stay 6 feet away from each other.
Don't hog all the toilet paper, please.
Yep. Be kind. Just be kind and thoughtful for your neighbors. I mean, that's one thing that we generally are doing pretty good. But be considerate of other people and their health, because you may be healthy, but it's somebody else that you could get sick, or just everybody avoid getting sick in the first place. That's the best.
Exactly. And my wish is that this podcast, it gives people sort of a sense of the normal, even though what we do is not normal at all. But it's, we wanted to try to keep this thing going, no matter what, through these crazy times, so that people have something to do and listen to. And, we know people are home bored and trying to make up things to do. And maybe this is one of those things that you can do.
Yeah. Or, and think about joining us and being on the show. That's another thing you could do. Just like Anthony did here, break up the boredom, break up the routine of the isolation, and tell some stories and engage in some interesting conversation that just happens. So
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Well, with that being said, let's get over to Anthony and get it going. Anthony, what's your weird story?
All right, man. The coolest, craziest at this time thing that happened, it was in Enid, Oklahoma. It's I'm pretty sure everybody's heard the what do you call it, light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Yes, we love that.
Yes.
Okay, so there is, I tried to look it up actually earlier and I couldn't find anything, but I think it was in 2002 or 2003. Me and two of my buddies, we were hanging out, and you know where the splash zone is at?
Yeah. The splash zone is it's a condensed version of a water park that resides in our small town here. Yeah, it's where the kids go in the summertime to get some water and some sun.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess they closed it during the winter, of course.
Yeah.
But it used to have like other things in there that you can hang out and do. But yeah, it was a pretty rad water park back in the day. So at the splash zone, right before you get into the parking lot, there used to be, I don't know if there still is, but there used to be a trailer park, just a small little, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 little trailers.
Yeah.
And one of my friends used to live there. And behind, I don't believe anymore, but behind Splash Zone, there used to be a wooded area. And which was pretty odd because, I mean, now you kind of see it. I don't even think there is any woods over there. I think they pretty much cleared it all out. So one night, another friend, we were all just hanging out at this guy's house that lived by Splash Zone. He was like, "Hey man, did you know there's an old railroad track behind here?" And we're like, "No, there isn't." You know, and they're like, "Yeah, man, let's go check it out." Well, during the day, I guess he like read something about it or something because he was all like, "You know what happened here?" And so we walked, felt like a couple miles, but we walked through all these wooded area, and we found there was no railroad tracks, I believe, to the north or south, but there was this small little bridge that still had the railroad ties, like the. It didn't have it, you know. It didn't have the any of the road. It was already taken up,
Right.
but just in this small little bridge, had a little creek running through. Most bizarre thing I've ever seen in Enid. So he was like, "You guys, I've read about this, and there's some type of folklore. I'm pretty sure, Barry, you've heard of the cemetery that's around here that's got the glowing skull."
Yeah, I believe so, man. Yeah, tell the people about that. Tell the folks about that.
That one, all I remember, I haven't really. It's been years, but all I remember that a certain time at night, there's so many things about it. Certain time at night, there's this skull or the headstone of this certain grave. It has a skull on it. It's supposed to glow. And some people say it's, you know, the position of the moon. Other people say it's the spirits, ghosts. I know that we went out, we tried to go out there, and there were some people out there that started yelling and screaming at us. And we were young, so we're like, "Dude, let's get out of here." And yeah, we didn't know, so we booked it. So I never saw it, but this little railroad bridge is kind of like that. There's a little story that's surrounding this bridge and supposed to be haunted.
Okay.
A cool thing about it is, like you kind of had to go looking for it. So one night after watching Blair Witch Project, me and my two
beginning of the evening.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it came out at the time. It was like 2 years old, and still, you know, I liked it. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, it was.
We took a camera, you know, one of them dinosaurs that my buddy had, the one that goes over your shoulder. And we were walking, you know, and of course we're going through the wooded area. But anyway, as we're going, you know, towards the little railroad crossing, you know, he's got that old dinosaur on his shoulder, and the buddy of mine, and we're recording VHS. It's not, you know, anything compact. It's a VHS recorder, you know.
So this is old school 15-pound camcorder.
Pretty big,
yeah. And this other guy, he's definitely. So we're going through, and he, you know, the other friend, he was telling the story, and the story is that there was 3 girls. Some say sisters, some say friends. and they went while the railroad was actually a railroad at the time. They went on the bridge and did the light as a feather, stiff as a board. And of course, what that is, I mean, I'm pretty sure the guys know, like everybody knows, like you put like 3 fingers, I believe, and then you say,
I think it's 2. You form in a circle around. It's usually this is how I know of it.
okay.
Well, this is what I know of it, not how, but what I know of it. It's usually, it seems to be a thing that is done almost exclusively at preteen and tween little girls' sleepovers, and where the little girls will have like 2 fingers, and they'll all gather around one little girl who will lay on her back and close her eyes and put her hands over her chest like a, funeral, burial kind of thing, and they'll stick their fingers underneath the girl, and they'll start slowly trying to lift her, chanting "light as a feather, stiff as a board, light as a feather, stiff as a board," and it's supposed to, like lift the girl off the ground, and so because it's some kind of, I don't know, witchcraft or maybe witchcraft, but some kind of incantation, urban myth, something like that. But we've had people swear by it, that it happened, just like Bloody Mary.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's, it's such a, I don't know, like to me, I've never done that. I've seen, like, I think I said on the last one, I think I've seen Ouija boards and seances and stuff like that. Right. And that stuff I do not touch. So the story goes, the girls did that and they put their fingers under, well, they lifted her up and it was just enough that she went up off the ground and they freaked out. And when they freaked out, they took their hands and then they dropped her and she fell, hit the bridge and then fell into the creek and hit so hard that she passed away.
Oh
wow.
Yeah. And we were there, I don't know, probably a good 30, 45 minutes. And every time, like my friend, I think he was trying to, kind of get my other friends like, hey, did you hear that? Or did you see that? And my other friend, he's, very logical, is, oh, that, whatever, that's just something, or that was already there, or, Yeah. And we finally get, like I said, we finally get to the place and we're talking about it. And we all hear something and we're just quiet for about a good 2 minutes. We started to whisper, and on the video, and once again, I wish I had the evidence, but of course it's old. So
yeah,
on the video, you can hear whispering, and then we stop and you could see all of us. He has this massive thing turned around and you could hear other whispers, and then none of us mouths are moving. We had to stop and rewind, stop. We were doing that for at least 2 hours.
Wow.
Trying to figure out.
That gives me goosebumps, man.
Yeah, it was so like, exactly, like you got goosebumps, you got chilled out. So after that, now we go back into the time we're actually recording it. We're still whispering and everything. And then I can't remember if I heard or if a friend of mine that was there, he said, he heard a scream. But you ever I'm pretty sure you guys have ever gotten that feeling where you just, no, I can't be here right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
yes. That gut feeling of something's not right and I need to leave.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got. And I'm at the time, you got 2 other dudes, and like I got this feeling like I cannot be right here, but I'm trying to stick it out. And then my other friend said, hey, let's go, man. This is such a dud. There's nothing going on. So we start walking, and then you hear other things going on. Now your mind's starting to play tricks on you, as we thought. So you're like, all right, let's go. We start running back. When we start running, we felt like someone was trying to play a trick on us, even though we were the only three that like talked about it. We never told anyone where we were going. We kind of snuck out of, my friend's house. And I think like it felt like as we were running back, it felt like not literally chasing, but it felt like it was driving us away. Like kind of like, you don't need to be here right now.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, as we're getting back, we put the tape in the VCR. Or no. He had the cords to hook up to his TV. Mm-hmm. And, we're watching the whole thing, and then we get to that part where we're whispering, and then, my buddy turns the camera around and he's holding it, and we're just kind of looking around, and you could hear it clear as day, other people whispering. And
wow.
Yeah, you hear that, and then you hear also the scream that my friend heard. We didn't, like me and the other guy, we didn't hear it, but he said, he heard something.
Uh-huh.
So that's something that I wouldn't.
So you heard this. So then you heard the scream on the thing
in the
wow.
on the video. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
So it's really something like, I don't know. To me, it's really cool to go back. I'm gonna try and see if I can get. If I could go over there, I may even go over there later on. I don't know, but living here and with all, the stuff that you don't hear, you hear, what was it? Booth said that he was shot here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that, that's a myth that I think has been pretty well debunked, but,
I think so too, man.
But
I really
it's
do.
still a cool part of Enid's history, man.
Yeah. It's not 100% debunked, but I mean,
it's pretty likely that it wasn't him.
Likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, for those of you who don't know, Enid, Oklahoma is where they're talking about where Barry and Anthony live. At one point, there was, according to legend, we'll say, because we don't know how factual it all is.
Yes.
But there was a man who claimed that he was on his deathbed. He claimed that he was John Wilkes Booth.
Right.
That it was not him who died the night that they claimed that they killed Booth. He had escaped and it was somebody else.
Yeah,
and he had lived his life out, and he had ended up in Enid, Oklahoma.
Yeah, he rented a little room downtown upstairs in one of the old. Now that's a furniture store. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, yeah, one little cool piece of history there, man. But yeah, the disembodied voices, man, are always something that really intrigues me. I just that stuff is, and the weird thing is that one of your friends hears it, but then two of you don't. So it's like, is he tuned in to some frequency there, or it's just so weird, man, that would happen, and then it's confirmed when you listen back to it and you hear it. It's like, damn, man.
Yeah, his reaction was. Obviously, like Barry said, he's got some kind of perception or something. He's there he's somehow getting that information, and I think that adds to the whole freakiness of it, because of the fact that he heard it, you guys didn't, and then you hear it on the recording. And just the fact that you hear it, it all on the recording in and of itself.
It's one of those things to get the feeling of you got to get out of someplace, but then to get that reconfirmed with there's actually voices and shit that are being, I don't know, man. That is just, I don't know what to say about that.
It's another level when you, especially when, that, okay, this is abnormal. This is supra. It's a whole nother level. Yeah. You get to a point where I think I even said this last time, your mind wants to take something and look at it. You're like, no. Logically that can't happen.
Right.
But you don't know. You really don't know. That's why, like, this whole taking DMT, our body creates it and all that. But, you just don't know. And when I remember when we first heard that, like, I could not believe that kind of stuff was around me. And that's kind of one of the first thing, like, even before I did all the ghost tours and all the other things, that was actually one of the first things I've ever got to do. That was kind of like just me and a couple buddies.
What happened to that videotape, man? Do you know if it's around?
Well, and that's funny because I actually got a hold of about an hour ago of the friend that actually told the story. And I asked him if he knew where the guy that had the camera, and the last time I talked to that guy was in 2009, and it was even further for him. He hasn't talked to him in years. So, I mean, honestly, it could have been, it was at his parents' place. So it could have been either stored or anywhere. All of the other stuff, I wish I would have grabbed, But, like I said, it's interesting. I'm probably going to go check it out and,
you should, man. You should go back there,
see if I can. Yeah, see if I can find, because like I said, I don't believe there's a wooded area there anymore. I'm pretty sure it's a housing district, but I mean, I don't know. It may still be there.
Well, I mean, the residual, if that's what it is, a residual thing going on there, I would imagine it would, still be, connected to that. I don't know. That's just my guess, but yeah, man, that's wild.
So like and to me, I don't know. Like, have you ever seen the movie Constantine? With Keanu Reeves?
Yeah.
One of my favorites. I really like that because it kind of put in perspective now, whether you believe or not, but it kind of put into a perspective where, there's certain type of people where they're there to help or to deceive.
Right.
And like, when you go into what happened, the feeling of we shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You kind of wonder, you know what I mean? You kind of wonder, like, what is that realm? You know what I mean? Like, why is that even there? When I got into a car wreck in 2005, and I swear it was just me, but I swear up and down on everything that I have, I swear that there was someone sitting in the seat next to me as I was having the car wreck.
Wow.
It's just one of them. Yeah. It's just one of them things where you get the feeling like I can remember right before, I can remember the feeling of being tossed in the air. Right. And then I can remember a figure sitting next to me going through it and then waking up with the car on the passenger side.
Wow.
And I mean, that's what I mean, man. One of the things that you get, you go through life, you're in this insane, unstable moment. Yeah. And it's something massive. And you don't, at the time I didn't really think about it, but I remember sitting, laying in the hospital bed over and over, like what happened. And it was only me that was in the car wreck. It was no one else, no other car. It was just me. And, you're sitting over and over thinking about what's going on. What did I do wrong? And then I started thinking about, I could have swore there was someone there. There was someone sitting next to me. I mean, you could say guardian angel, you could say, whatever, but I definitely knew that when I came to hanging from my seatbelt and when I was able to stand up, I knew that
you're lucky to be alive.
Exactly. It wasn't my time.
Wow.
Not my time.
Wow. Man, that's, I don't know how many times I've plugged this, but I keep referring to the Left Eye Lopez documentary about. I think this is about the 4th or 5th time I've talked about it on this podcast, man. But it's such a fascinating documentary, man. And right before she dies, it's videotaped, and she's leading up to her death. She feels that death is coming, and she keeps saying that, like, I'm going to die soon, and then she's driving down the road, man, in the middle of nowhere in Honduras, and her freaking car goes off the road and freaking flips and killed her. Killed her and 2 of her passengers or something like that. Like, everybody in the car died, or maybe one person survived. I can't remember, but the videotape is still there. It's the spookiest thing, dude. It's one of the spookiest documentaries I've ever seen. It's just like, dude, it's just wild. It's wild.
Oh man, I didn't even know that. I didn't know that was like.
You need to watch it.
Sometimes people can dip into that, you know.
Oh man. Check it out. Well, she moved to Honduras to get. What was she into, man? She was into voodoo, or she was into oh gosh, what's the other Santeria? One of those, offshoots or something, but she got way into it. She moved to Honduras because there's a real strong spiritual pulse there.
Santeria there.
And so, yeah. So crazy. It's wild. She was a wild chick anyway, man. Remember she torched her boyfriend, who was the wide receiver for the Falcons at the time. Torched his house, man. Burnt his shit down.
I forgot.
Yeah.
That's insane. I forgot. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But it, like I said, it's such a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
When, you go through life, everything is just in front of you. And then you go through something that is completely, you don't necessarily want to say life-changing, but also it's just, what's the word? Like, you can't figure it out.
Right.
To me, I don't want to figure it out because it happened. It was at the right place at the right time. I felt at peace. I mean, now I do, definitely.
Right.
Because it's just something that was there. I mean, I don't know. It's too much. It's too much, too big.
Yeah,
and
I get it.
Everything I got right now is in front of me.
Right. That's amazing.
I think that you can say that surviving a wreck like that is, that's a traumatic, and that can definitely be a life-altering event that changes your perspective on things, because all of a sudden, you are you're given perspective about how lucky you are to be alive. Yeah. Because and knowing that it could have ended and you dodged that bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were your toes were dangling off the cliff there, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say my ear was, because it almost got ripped off there. They had to take 11. Yeah, so they had to take 11 stitches on it, and I was just like, man. Like I said, lucky to be alive.
Was that the worst of it?
I got 6 staples in my head. What happened? They say I fell asleep. I was actually going to see my ex-wife graduate in 2005. I drove from Enid, and I was going to New Mexico. Supposed to be 11-hour drive. Well, it was in May. I had this car that didn't have any AC. I think I had a heater, but didn't have any AC. And I remember having a headache. And the next thing I know, I was driving down the road. Next thing I know, I went to go change the radio station. And I look up, and I'm on the median and on the road.
Wow.
On the Interstate 20 going to, in Texas, going to New Mexico.
Okay.
And then I tried to, that feeling you get when you jump, like something happens and you kind of just jump, or you get that scared feeling. Like, I jumped, but I tried to slowly turn right to get onto the road, Well, something jarred my tires, and I was about to go hit a fifth wheel, and so I had to jerk my tires, or I had to jerk my wheel to go left, and then when I hit left, from what I understand, I hit that median so hard because it was kind of one of them ditch medians,
Right.
you know, like it's all grassy, but I hit it so hard it flipped up in the air, and I landed
Wow.
on the passenger
How fast?
side.
How fast?
That,
Wow.
I mean, over there it's 75. I was probably going 75, 80.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
you are lucky,
Yeah, it was,
man.
It was very, like I said, I was very lucky. I remember standing up, like my shoes were off. I don't know how that happened, but
The G-forces,
That's-
man.
Well,
Must
that's the
be.
thing. Well, that happens. That's not an unusual thing. That happens a lot in really in car accidents, especially the ones that are like higher speed. That people's shoes come off, and you know, it's a weird phenomenon, but that's what happens. I remember our high school. Was a biology or chemistry teacher, I know for sure, Mr. Mays. He was a EMT for a while before I think he was in college or maybe before he started teaching, but he did that for a while. And that's one thing that he told us in high school. He's like, one of the things you don't know about, you never see in movies or TV or anything about that, is when people are in car wrecks that their shoes come off.
Wow.
And it's so bizarre.
Wow.
It's just so bizarre. And I remember it's so
It's
bizarre.
weird.
Remember 20 plus years later.
Wow, man. That's
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I don't know. I don't know what it was. When I was standing up, the passenger window was on the ground, so I was standing up, and I looked through the driver window. You understand what I'm saying? Like the roof was at my chest, like
right.
I was looking. Anyway, and
Wow.
I remember pulling myself up, unbuckling, standing the passenger window, and then I already had my window on the driver's side. And another weird thing that goes with the story, I remember hearing a couple. They were kind of maybe in their mid 40s, 50s, you know, yelling, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" And I just like looking around. I don't remember what they looked like, but I remember saying, "Do you need anything?" And then someone else saying, "Hey, keep his neck elevated. He could have broken his neck."
Right.
And so the lady was holding my neck, and she's like, "Do you need anything?" And I was like, "I could really use some water." And as they were trying to find water, the term of, you know, like blacking out, like
Yeah.
people black out.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it was different. To me, everything was getting brighter. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know if that was me.
There's a whiteout.
yeah. I don't know if it was passing out or I don't know what was going on.
Right.
But I remember like everything was getting so bright, and then out of nowhere, I felt wet on my mouth, and I started drinking it. And I mean, like that, I was awake. I was aware. I knew where I was.
Yeah.
Still don't remember what they looked like, but the paramedics got there.
In shock.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would imagine that was what was going on, that you were in shock, and that's may have been why you were whiting out and concussed, and may have been why you you don't remember a lot
Oh,
of
man,
going on.
It was bizarre because it was like I remember like them having to, because I went from the right side of the interstate all the way to the left side of the interstate.
Wow.
Like I was going west. I landed on the eastbound.
Wow.
And landing over there, and then I remember them having to direct traffic onto the shoulder, and I remember the paramedics getting there, and they're holding my neck, you know, just like that lady was, and, you know, and I'm seeing people pass by, and they could see me clear as day, and I remember seeing people like, oh, you know, look at his face, you know, they were looking back, and the paramedics said, you know, you doing okay? firefighters are going to be here. They're going to get the jaws of life. I go, oh yeah, I'm all right. And then I look into her sunglasses. I was like, oh wait, no, from the look of your sunglasses, I look pretty banged up. And she like flipped. She's like, don't look at yourself. Don't look at yourself.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was. I mean, I wasn't reacting like freaking out.
Yeah.
I was trying to make a funny out of a really drastic and crazy situation.
Right.
Because that's the kind of person that I am. But they got the jaws of life, which was pretty rad. Seeing and hearing the paramedics fight with the firefighters, and then I remember getting on the ambulance and my mom calling, and I told the paramedic, don't answer the call, and he did not listen. So that freaked my parents out.
Right.
And
but
going from there, I had no idea anything that I had. I didn't know my ear was messed up. I just thought I had a massive headache, a migraine.
Right.
And then I came to, they said, yeah, you got staples in your head and you got 11 stitches behind your ear. And I had one, I don't know if you can see it. I had one right here, one stitch. Anyway,
on the back of his hand.
Yeah.
It's on the back of his, was that your right hand or your left?
Yeah, my right hand. Yeah, my right.
Damn.
I'm just saying that for our listeners at home. Wherever they're listening from. Probably, hopefully at home during all of this.
But yeah, like I said, the oddity of having, going from your daily life and then something, insanely, happening to, of course, it's life-changing.
Yeah.
But you start to remember, little things about it. And you're like, that's not possible. That's not, how could this be?
Right.
And like I said, to me, I don't question it because it's more at peace. It happened how it was supposed to happen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was definitely a way to get, my ex-wife, we were married for 12 years and it was definitely a romantic, thing. Cause the next day I showed up, I was in a braid cause I was going to see her graduate. My dad was like, well, I was only 5 hours away. He's like, well, what's another 5 hours?
They released you for the next day to go to her graduation?
The next day.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty impressive, man. You must.
I mean, to be driving 70 as fast as you were and not have more wrong with you.
Right, and be as banged up as you sound and you're described, and being able to walk out the next. That's pretty impressive.
It was. Yeah. I believe that's how it went because it was that day, and then she drove 5 hours to come see me for like 5 minutes. And then I was there overnight. And then I remember waking up the next morning and my parents were there. Like they drove 20 hours all the way from, Missouri. And it was the next day. Cause because after that, the following day was the actual graduation.
Yeah. Wow.
So
dang, man.
Like I said, it's a weird life, man.
Yeah, it is.
It is a weird life.
It is a weird life, man. But that also, what's interesting too is if you have perspective on things, as you get older and you sort of you see things unfold the way that they do, it's like you said, man, there's a reason why that happened, and whatever that reason was is that's on you to figure out, and make sure that you you try to live in a way that is better than it was before, I guess. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, why do things happen to certain people? I don't know, but it's we're glad you're here to talk about it, man.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I'm just trying to live, just trying to do what I can. And when like I said, when you go through that and when you step out of it and think about it, man, it's good. it's got to be a good feeling because you know something was looking out. You know
Yeah,
what I
for
mean?
sure.
Yeah.
I once got caught in a situation where I thought I was going to. I really thought, like, that whole saying about your life passing in front of your eyes, like, that happened to me. I had one of those moments,
man.
and it was a blizzard, and I had the smart idea. I have no idea why, but I had the smart idea of I'm gonna get on the interstate during a blizzard, and I'm gonna drive for an hour for something, and. So I'm in my little truck and I'm on the freaking interstate, and there's a semi in front of me and there's a semi behind me, and the guy in front of me starts jackknifing. And so I have to start hitting my brakes. I look in my rearview mirror as I'm sliding, the guy behind me starts jackknifing. The semi behind me starts jackknifing. And I'm just like, I'm going to die. I'm going to get sandwiched here. I'm going to die. And for I don't know why, how, whatever, but the guy in front of me ended up like he went over to the left part of the median, you know, and he kind of like he just railed up against the median, and then my truck kind of went up the center, and the truck behind me went off to the right, off the shoulder of the road.
Golly, man, that's insane.
And I've seriously,
That is
because it took so long for it to unfold, I had too much time to think, you know. It was like, I'm going to fucking die here, man, you know. And then I sat there. I remember, like, I just sat there for a minute when I came to a stop. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, everybody's okay, you know. And I'm like, okay, I got to get the fuck home.
Yeah.
You know. Man,
Gosh.
crazy, dude.
Yeah,
But that's
man,
as
that's
close as
insane.
I've come to that. Hey, that's a nice T-shirt you got on there.
Oh, thanks, dude. It's brand new. Do you like that? It's one of the official What's Your Weird Story t-shirts.
Where'd you get that?
It's funny that you ask. I just got it off the brand new Spreadshirt.com site for the What's Your Weird Story podcast. There's no www. You just go straight to shop.spreadshirt.com/what's without the apostrophe WHATS hyphen YER-WEIRD-STORY, and that'll take you right there.
I mean, you can never own enough clothing.
Well, it's true, Barry. There's t-shirts for the ladies because, you know, they're cut differently. There's hoodies, which are really cool. There's two different kinds of hoodies, and there's also tote bags, so you can tote your stuff.
That's so cool, man.
So if you guys go out to spreadshirt.com, What's Your Weird Story, currently there are 2 designs, but there will be more going up very soon. So just keep your eyes out for that. And if you decide to get one of our shirts, tag yourself on Instagram to ours or Facebook. Show your love. Show us what you got. Let's see your true colors.
Oh, man.
But
Good shit, man. Thank you, Anthony.
yeah,
Freaking great.
hey, no
man.
problem.
What else you got,
Any,
man? You got
I
anything
mean,
else?
right now, I kind of just, I'm trying to think. I mean, I've seen.
Dude, so let me ask you this, and we don't have to
What's
put
up?
this in. We don't have to put this in, but I was thinking, I'm like, when you're talking about the ghost stuff from before, did you hook up with Tammy Wilson to do that stuff? Was she one of the people or no? Do you know Tammy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Was she one of
I think she was the leader. She was the one that.
Okay. Is she still doing that, man? She's still
Yeah, I believe so. She, her and my mom are are really good friends. They've been friends for years.
Okay.
And yeah. From what I understand, she still does. She doesn't do it often, but I know she still does tours.
Okay.
So
Cool, yeah, because I thought about that. I was like, man, I wonder if he was talking about Tammy, you know?
and I didn't, like I said, I never asked her to.
Yeah, of course. Right.
But she was the one that I think
She should come on the show.
Man, you need to get you need to get her if
Yeah,
you can.
I know.
You got to get her because she
Sounds like
definitely has seen
Hey,
a lot.
Put in a good word if you see her, you know? Just say, hey, my friends, they got a show, you know?
Definitely, she'll probably she might even explain it better than I did. the whole situation. But yeah, it would be great to get her on, because
Yeah.
man, I know she's got some wild stories.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about doing one of her tours a couple of years ago, and it never happened. My wife my wife wants to do that kind of stuff, you know. She's like, she thinks she does anyway. So I keep like, oh man, we should do that with her. And then there's that place in Guthrie you can go to, right? Is it the hotel, or what is it that's haunted there? Hotel? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of things that they've got.
Yeah.
Guthrie's
such a cool town, man.
It really is, dude.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, but it is.
It is, man.
you know?
Yeah.
Have you ever been in that big Masonic temple there?
Yeah. Well, I haven't been in it, but my dad sang in it.
It's been years since I've been.
I've been there. I was in it. I got a tour. I got a special tour because my brother got a. I know we went there, Barry. I know we went there with the school thing, but we also. I know that, but I went with my dad and my brother because my brother got a scholarship from the Masons somehow.
Right.
And so part of that was being able to go to the temple and getting this big tour. And I remember, going a few places that weren't on the public tour, but I can't remember what it was because I wasn't paying as much attention as I would be now.
Right.
Because now I know that they're
talk
the secret
about
cabal that runs the world.
Right.
But,
you want to talk about a weird story? My dad sang there, man.
Yeah.
He said it was super weird.
That's pretty wild. Especially when you talk about Masonic temples and anything like that. That alone is just
another
odd.
deal.
That's
Fuck yeah.
I mean, I've been to a Freemason. It was my ex-wife. Her granddad. He was becoming another ranking in there.
Right.
And at the time, I was like, yeah. And at the time, I didn't know much about what was going on. I didn't even know it was kind of like, how do you say, a thing to where it's like, this is kind of like a sacred thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was my ex-wife, it was me, my daughter at the time. We didn't have our son yet. And then I think his son, which is my ex-wife's stepdad, and maybe one or two other people. And like they got up, they sang, they sat down, and they were talking about him. And like after a while, like thinking about it, I can see how people would be like, dude, that's a no-go. But to tell you the truth, the guy that they that was in the Freemasons, her granddad, he is the most religious man I've ever met.
Yeah.
And like to see him go through something to like that, and how it was kind of lame. I mean, it wasn't like anything like, this is such a secret, this is a secret society, you're not supposed to. No, it was kind of lame. Like, unless they're really hiding certain shit.
The thing of it is, they have different ceremonies. They have public ceremonies, and then they have their private ceremonies. And they do have these kind of ritualistic things that is part of it. That is, not. And I'm not trying to, pump up any kind of conspiracy theory or anything like that. I'm just saying factually that they have their private rituals. And the reason that they have those is so that they have this secret organizational things. So they have this private kind of things that are just theirs. Like they have a secret handshake and all this stuff. And so it's something that is like it's as being a member of that organization, that they go through and that they do these things to kind of like make sure to belong. You've got to do these things.
It's a brotherhood.
It's kind of like an initiation thing.
It really is.
You've got to do these things ceremonially out of respect for whatever we present them to have, as honoring towards whether it's the wizard overlords that run everything, or just the ancient builders of temples or whatever. But and it's,
so, I mean, it's something I don't know. Like I had a friend, he's still living, so he's still a friend. In Texas, he is a very selfless, very giving type of person, him and his wife, and they constantly, I've never seen someone that is so dedicated to other people, to helping. And one day I was over there, I was hanging out, and a guy came over, his neighbor, and him and his neighbor were real good buds, and they always like I said, help each other out. Well, his neighbor is part of the Freemasons, and he was asking, he took him aside, and I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Come to find out, you can only get invited to become a member.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, he just asked me if I wanted to go to the meetings. And I was like, dude, are you going to do it? And he goes, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. All I know, it's a secret thing. And I honestly think he told me that what it is it's people look in this area. I don't know anywhere else, but in that area in Texas, it's, the Freemasons over there, they seek people that love to help people.
Right.
They have a lot of charities due to I think one chapter over there donated so much money so kids could have for school, and that's great, that's wonderful, but it's so weird to be that secretive, you know what I mean?
Well, they're a civil service group. They do a lot of charity and a lot of civil service and stuff like that, like you said. And but and part of the reason that they're so secretive is that at one point in time, it was illegal to be a Mason because they thought that because of the rituals and stuff that they had. They thought that they were un-American or ungodly or whatever. But there was a time in our United States history where it was basically illegal to be a Mason, so or a member of any kind of secret society. So, and including fraternities and sororities, stuff like that. That was, that's not that long ago. Some of that was not that long ago, like the fraternities and sororities and stuff. That was during the 50s, where all of them had to publish at least and give to the United States government their ceremonies or what they did for initiation and their charters and all this stuff that was secret that that only members are supposed to know because of during the Red Scare, when they thought anybody and everybody could get sneezed on and become a communist or was a communist, or if you saw if you went to a party at somebody who was, whose cousin was a communist or something like that, they were just trying to root out anybody and, blame anybody who had any kind of thing as a commie red. So, so there's a lot of that was, exposed during that time. But ultimately,
I think
it's just another group.
Right, and they raise money, and what they do is they do good things for the community, And I think at the lower levels, it's pretty, there's not a lot going on when it comes to nefarious acts, But as you get up the chain, the word is that it gets weird. But what are you gonna do? As long as they're not killing children and stuff, I don't give a shit. Raise all the money you want, Take all your daggers.
They could be, Barry. They could be.
Yeah.
There's no way. I mean, I don't want to I'm not. I don't want to jump on the David Icke train here with conspiracy and say that it's the Masons and the Illuminati.
Yeah, well, if
the
you ever
stuff,
if you
that's
ever
fun to
want
read stuff, but once you start getting into like anti-Zionist and say it's all the Jews' problem, then that their fault. That's when you've lost me. I'm sorry. That's just racism. So whatever. But anyway.
To me, I think. I don't know if you guys have you ever actually listened to the whole speech of JFK? About the one that's asked not for what right. Have you actually heard the whole thing?
Man, I have at some point, sure but I
haven't committed it to memory.
Check it out. If you check it out again, he talks about secret societies, and he talks about all the stuff he wants to abolish, and I don't know if it's this one in particular. I believe I got to look at it again. He even talks about the monoliths, what I mean, that could be on the moon. So it's weird when I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's really interesting on some of the stuff that they come up with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I dip my toe into the conspiracy world just because there's enough that have been proven to be factual that there's always that chance. But I'm kind of like you, Adam, where it's like you get to a certain point with stuff. I could sit home all day and just like go down these rabbit holes. But am I like, what is it that I'm spending my time doing? I'm spending my time doing something that I have no control over. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
And there's entertainment.
Like what is all that?
There's entertainment value in reading some of that stuff, but once it gets to a certain point of absurdity, and once it gets to because it gets to like. It's a lot of it is to what end, Right. It's like a lot like we have taken a stance here on a controversial stance that the world is indeed not flat; it is round and it's a sphere. Right. Against the flat earthers, conspiracy people, and the main issue with that, beyond the the science and everything that we know and have known for millennia, thousands of years. To what end is it to fool the world? To what end and what does it serve?
Right. What do we
convince people that we're on a ball as opposed to on a flat plane? What does it do? What service does it form? How can you control? What is it? Just we're going to control people's minds by telling them that the world is round and that space exists and all this stuff. And it's like, what is more absurd? The fact that we're on a flat disc, or that and we know that everything else is round or whatever, but that this is something that has it's not a new idea that the world is a globe or is a sphere. It's a spheroid.
They figured this out a long time ago, man. And there was and there was people that didn't believe that the Earth was round back then. So there's it's
just fall off.
It's what. But that's the whole thing. Is like, what purpose does it serve that NASA? Because they always want to blame NASA and scientists, right?
Right.
Yeah.
NASA and science don't all gather together and just laugh at everybody,
right?
In a collective, we've got them fooled once again. Yet another year. Way to go, NASA. Right. Way to go, scientists.
Right.
There's no purpose to it. There's no.
It really is. You're right.
I mean, it's like if you could tell me a good reason why, except for that they're trying to fool us or control us through making us think that the world is round. I'm sorry, but I mean, it just, beyond the fact that science, we know with science, and science is a thing that does work. It's a tool that works. We know that the world is spheroid. It's not even a globe, round ball. It's spheroid. It's not. It's a regular shape. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you're a flat earther, more power to you. But you're way wrong.
Well, the world, our universe is much more strange than anyone can imagine anyway. You know what I mean? And sort of taking the cheap way out and saying that it's, it's sort of whatever I want, in my mind to comfort myself, whatever I think that thing is, it's flat because I can't think of anything, in the universe that would be round or be, in the universe's case, sort of, not a form per se. It's just a smattering of, particles and debris and weird shit, dark matter, like that's weird shit to think about, like I don't have enough time in my life to think about that. So I'll just say fucking shit's flat. You know what I mean? That way I don't have to fucking worry about shit and everything's flat. And, I don't know.
Some people, man, just, they go off and they enjoy, they go so deep. And they enjoy that kind of that kind of corruption because they want it so bad. They want to be right, and that
exactly. They want to be right. They want to have secret knowledge and be able to tell you that they have this secret knowledge that you don't get, man, because you're just sheeple. You're just sheep, man. But I know because I watched 37 videos on YouTube, but and it's like, and another thing that really gets me is the current thing is the Mandela effect. Yeah. Are you familiar with this? Have you heard about the Mandela effect?
Yeah. I mean, I can like, I know the actual story of the Mandela effect. Like, okay, but I can understand why some people would be like, wait a minute, is that really? You know what I mean? Like, it kind of happened to me. Not with. Go ahead.
Basically, it's people misremembering or remembering things incorrectly that they weren't even alive for.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people that are younger that are like in the 20-somethings that are really big into the Mandela effect, and they want to talk about how Mandela had, that he had died in prison, that he never was released. Well, he was released. I remember that. Right. Yeah. Or the guy, the
Berenstain Bears.
Fruit Loops. It used to be the Berenstain Bears. That was spelled differently or whatever. Fruit Loops was,
that took me.
It used to not be FOORT or whatever. Well, no, the reason that it's Fruit Loops like spelled like that is because you can fucking trademark FROOT. You can't trademark the regular word fruit.
But it is fun. But it is fun to sort of just bullshit about. You know what I mean? Just say, I fucking remember when fucking ramen noodles was fucking, ramen noodles spelled with a whatever,
Yeah. Where's this Top Ramen come from? I remember ramen noodles.
Right. There was
and it's like, dude, it's a fucking different brand. What the fuck, It's just like it's people that just like who think that they're super observant when actually they're exposing themselves to be quite contrary, not observant because they think that they know something that they remember and it's this, but it's actually you're wrong. Yeah. But you don't want to admit being wrong because your memory is not faulty. Everyone else's is.
Right.
Well, and we talked about this recently when we were talking to Micah is, one of the least reliable things in existence or on Earth is eyewitness memories and stuff like that, because people can't remember things. Yeah. People can't remember things correctly. People construct things to fit into what they want to believe. And you can see that all the time. And that's why this Mandela effect bullshit is just so laughable, man.
Yeah,
it's just like,
you're right. I mean, when you're getting attacked by a bear, you're not going to say, "Oh, it was 6 foot." It was 10 foot tall.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
You're gonna look at something and gonna see a bigger, better story on it.
Right.
And your mind does that too. Like your mind definitely plays tricks, and definitely, you think it is bigger when it actually could be smaller, or you think it's smaller when it actually could be bigger.
For sure. I
don't know. It definitely, to me, like the idea of the Mandela effect. I mean, I get it because it's like, oh man, I could have swore it was this. Right. There was one. Not the whole Shazam Kazam thing. That was silly.
That was just
Yeah, there was something else that really got me. I think it was a few years back when I realized Darth Vader didn't say, "Luke, I am your father." He just said, "I am your father."
Right.
I believe. Yeah, like that one really shook me because, like, dude, I could have swore he said it. No,
but
it was
that's
because people were saying it.
But he said it like that.
Right.
It's exactly right. Exactly. And it's just like C-3PO, how they talk about C-3PO had, like how he was all gold and then they had a silver leg.
Right.
And then they changed it to where, he had a silver leg. Well, people don't remember and people don't watch. And this is what, again, the observant stuff. And I remember this from being a little kid, is that in The Empire Strikes Back, C-3PO is dismantled. He's taken apart by the Ugnaughts in Cloud City. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when they put him back together, because they go in and they just grab him, all of his pieces, right? And then Chewie puts him back together. When he puts him back together, I guess he just grabbed a silver leg of something and put it on. And it was like that on the toy, and it was like that. Oh, but it wasn't on the initial toy. They came out later with the silver leg because they had to do a different paint job. But there, from the knee down, it was silver. I don't know factually in the real world why they changed it, if that was part of the story or if that was some weird thing. But in the movie, that is what happened, and so that's why it happened. It's not like he was always this and they changed it or whatever. That's the explanation to why the character had the thing. So anyway, that's my uber nerd.
We went deep there, man. We went deep. He's like, that's just that's a tip of the iceberg, man. Too. Yeah.
Hey, it's all right. I have.
It's great.
Reasons to believe that. Spoiler alert, it's been out for a few years, so if you haven't seen this, it's your fault. But I have reason to believe that Han Solo pushed the button to get Kylo Ren to kill him on that lightsaber.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. I mean, I'm not going to go into it. It's this whole ordeal, but it's just something I had been thinking about when I first saw it. And I was like, man, I know there's got to be a reason. One, probably because, Harrison Ford wanted to stop being in this franchise.
Well, I think, there's definitely, he wanted to not be in it anymore beyond that. Yeah. I don't think that is in Han's character to do, though, even for his son. I think that it was just to show you the corruption, but that's also leads to the redemption of Kylo Ren, because he had to make that ultimate, corruption. He had to make that ultimate thing because he didn't kill Luke, but he killed his father, right? Yep. So then it's like, oh no, he's irredeemable. He killed probably one of the most favorite characters in all of Star Wars, Han Solo, because he's also Indiana Jones. We know that, but he killed him, so he can't be good ever again. And then, of course, they bring it around, and he turns it back. It's just like Vader. Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, trust me, I know how I could go into a deep rabbit hole on this stuff too, man.
Awesome.
It's kind of like me in conspiracy theories. It's good to check out Reed, but then when you look back, you're like, okay, that's enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting. There's always interesting seeds, but you don't want to, and you can, and following the roots, but just jumping in to, in getting in on it, that's where it can get very dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Especially now, because there's a lot of people that like with Holocaust deniers and stuff like that, which is just,
right. Yeah. And I've heard
we don't even go in.
Yeah. And I've even heard, crazy stuff around, 9/11, that kind of stuff. And dude, I can't entertain any of that. Like, I just can't. I know that I know the majority of people know that stuff is out there, but it's like, for me, it's like the Oklahoma City bombing, dude. I just can't entertain any of that shit because it's too close to home. Why do I need to know? I don't need to know, dude. All I know is that, an atrocity happened. A lot of people are fucking dead. That's all I need to know,
Yeah.
You know, you could
pay your respects.
Right. Yeah. You could go down and never be any more clear than you were that day before. If anything, you're just more tied up in it, you know, and just like invested, and it's got to be true, man. You know.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
I mean, and that, I mean, you get to the whole Sandy Hook thing. And, I mean, you've got to, I mean, not to get into it because it's pretty bizarre what people think, but like, I mean, that's people. Those are families. Those were, you know, mothers. Those are brothers or sisters. You know what I mean? It's
real
it's like
children.
Right.
Exactly. You know, I mean, from 9/11 to the, you know, Sandy Hook, but man, I'm not into all that. I'm like, dude, this happened. I mean, such a weird thing that people keep digging little things and seeing something that they think is a huge thing when it's not really. And you try to, you know, you try to really tune into what you got going on in front of you, but sometimes there's always that one thing that you're like, man, what is that?
Oh, for sure.
Know, I mean, I've heard, and you know, I've known a few people that are, you know, like they're paranoid schizophrenics, you know what I mean?
Right.
But you know, there has to be a little secret to their sauce. Right. You know what I mean? Like, how do you get there?
The thing, I'll tell you how it happens. Our brain chemistry is such a delicate balance at all times. Yeah. I mean, and like, you know, like we know this because you can see when people, you know, are dealing with just the mildest forms of off balance with like depression and, you know, or mania, you know, but then you hype it up where it gets to where it's not perceiving reality correctly. It's the filters are not working and it's being delusional, and you're getting into the paranoia and the schizophrenia and all those kind of those other kind of things. You know, and that's stuff that's just chemicals all weird and brain parts cross-wired and all of that stuff. It's just like, you know, they're not getting the right information. The information that they're getting is not being perceived, you know, in the correct way,
there's
in the average way, in the normal way. And so they're seeing things in a different manner. And then, and we talked about this with Philip K. Dick when we talked to Micah. You know, there's just something happens, and it could be biological. It could be where it's something where, you know, they've influenced themselves with, you know, the substances or other chemicals, you know, and like, you know, drugs or hallucinogens or anything, you know, and it could be any number of things that throws people off. It's usually there's usually a big biological component, you know. That's the stuff that's really sad when, you know, when it happens and they can't do anything about it. But you know, when people fuck their own brains up, you know, people who are smart and have potential and they fucking do that to themselves, it's really tragic. It's really sad.
Yeah. Yep. I think there's been some a lot of great musicians and other folks that have done that. And it's because because the brain chemistry is already set in a way, but then, you know, you add a chemical on top of that, and it's like, whoa, the two don't mix, man.
Yep.
Yeah. But, and when you have so much, when you're trying to make so much, like, you know, the good feeling chemicals like the serotonin or whatever, you can get to where, you know, you can't get that where it doesn't work as good as it does, and then you can't get it to replenish itself in a good way, and then so you know, you're burning yourself out on that natural thing by filling it with, you know, getting it to try to hype it up with the artificial thing. So it's just, you know, that's the tragedy, and that's a lot of people do it, man. You know, I mean, shit.
Yeah, you kind of just, you know, you feel for those people. You know what I mean? You feel for those.
Yeah.
You want to be there. You want to, you know, do as much as you can, but ultimately, it's really up to them and how they perceive. It's sad. I've heard a lot of sad stories on stuff like that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's just getting worse. You know.
Yep.
But
it seems like it always seems like it, but it always seems like I think every generation, I think everybody always says, well, these are the worst times, and this is, things used to be so much better, and now it's worse. And I think it's just as you age, you realize that the world is not as sunny and bright as it was when you were a kid. Because you're being...
And we have a host of problems that are new to the human race, dude. Like, you know, living in modern society is our brains and our bodies don't know what to do with themselves. You know, we're built to work and we're built to do these things and be, mobile, and we're finding ourselves not having to, have to do the things that our ancestors did, and that really throws a wrench in things.
Or even our grandparents.
Right.
Even our grandparents.
Oh, the world we live in compared to our grandparents is just night and day.
You have to admit, though, from, let's say, 1998 to right now, technology has just...
Oh, it's boomed.
I mean, it is just...
Boomed.
Well, here's the thing. Even beyond that, because that's a short amount of time,
exactly.
But on a grand scale of things, going from, say, what is it? When did the Wright brothers have their flight? Was that 1905 to now?
Look at the Industrial Revolution. Like, the Industrial Revolution is what really fucking kicked it off,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like not even, that's even including the Industrial Revolution, which goes back further. That's 250 years. That is, on the grand scheme of things, on our planet, it's a minute, it's a second.
Right.
In the universe, it's not even a microsecond. It's not even an eye blink. It's just nothing.
Yeah. So you're right.
It's amazing.
You're right. To go from what was started to now, golly, I don't know. It's bizarre. I remember sitting in history class at Emerson in Enid, my junior high, and my history teacher saying 1998 was the best technological year that has been made so far. And I remember sitting thinking, I'm like, okay, whatever. But then as getting old, I can see why. Check this out. I don't know if we're still recording or not.
Yeah.
But let's see. Let's kind of see if I can flip it.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there you go.
1985 right there.
There
you know what I mean?
Wow.
Like,
fuck yeah,
go
man.
from that, I don't have any, I have a PC, but it's like, but anyway, it to go from that to what we're on right now, or at least what I'm on, to a mobile phone. Geez,
oh yeah,
dude.
Oh yeah. The mobile phone is, man. Yeah. Well, when you said when you were a junior in high school, what year was that?
90. Had to have been. Seventh, 8th, 2000.
Okay.
Right. So you were a junior in 2000. Barry and I were a junior in 92, 93. That was our junior year. The computers that we had barely had
dog shit.
They were like 2 generations from that one that you had there. We had just gotten we had the floppy, and we had a 3/4 inch disc, and that's where you stored your data. We did not have CD-ROM yet. That was very soon, but that wasn't there. All the computers at our high school were the green screen type. They didn't have color monitors. We had one or maybe
DOS
2 computers
commands
at our high school that had, everything was DOS. We had 1 or 2 computers at our high school that had color, and they were both owned by one of our teachers, Dr. Johnson, and because he bought them personally, because he used them for publishing the high school newspaper, so we could do layouts on them, and they were so advanced because they had published it. 2. Publish it 2. So like, this is still like, I think this was still pre-Windows.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been.
This was like,
I had a
this was
Commodore
like,
64, and that was. Yep. There wasn't.
I
Windows.
remember the first time getting on the internet.
Me too.
When I was in college.
I don't
was in
remember
college.
it. I don't remember
I
it.
went
Man.
to the library and I saw a kid that we went to school with, Barry Michael Keelan, on there. And I'm like, "What are you doing, man?" He's like, "I'm on the internet." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, man. I'm sitting here in this chat room and I'm talking to people from all over the world." It was like legitimately like an early commercial for the internet. I'm talking to people.
Right. Like, what's the internet?
Wow, dude. He's like, yeah. It's like, you can get. I was like, how do you do that? It's like, well, you get on here and you just put your name in, your makeup name, and you do all this stuff, and you just type and you just blah blah blah. And it's like, wow. And so I got on there, and I was doing that, and I did that a couple of times. I was like, wow, that was really neat. And then boom, all of a sudden, like, America Online was everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh
and then,
my gosh,
dude. And
AOL.
I remember by sophomore year of college at Southwestern, I had an apartment, and I got this computer. And again, it was not a fancy computer at all. It had this giant box, and it had like a 50-pound monitor.
Yeah, fuck
and hardly any kind of memory.
Yeah.
And I would get I got American Online, the free install disc, and I installed it, and I got on, some chat rooms in my apartment there, and I had to plug it in my phone line because it was all dial-up, dude. My phone, yeah, exactly, dude. And my phone line got disconnected because I didn't have enough money to pay for it and pay for all the America Online.
That's great. That's hilarious.
That's funny.
Oh man,
that was it. AOL, Netgear, I think it was.
Yeah, Netgear wasn't there.
Right.
Netgear was sending stuff in the mail, and then AOL started sending stuff in the mail. Jeez, man. Oh man,
it's crazy.
I'm enjoying it because it's something that even I guess our generation, even though you guys are a little older than I am, like.
Well, you're a millennial. You're a millennial. You're an early millennial, but you are a millennial, and we're tail end of Gen X.
Yeah,
is what we are.
Oh, okay.
We're actually, we're close in age, but we're also like technically even where Barry and I are at. We're in a smaller sub generation between X and millennials. There's this really small group that's a couple of years because we grew up, we had analog childhoods, but then we had digital teens and in our 20s. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that analog was just starting to get big, or going from analog. I remember when I remember where I was at, what I was doing when the TV stations went from analog to digital. Like the antennas.
Yep.
I remember exactly because I was working overnight at this dumb place and in the oil field, and I was watching in black and white freaking, I think it was like I Love Lucy on this old TV. And then I remember the night it switched because it went from that to snow. Like, it couldn't, it was done. They're done with analog. So they switched it. And I was like, well, there goes that.
That's crazy.
Well, they technically still got to do, they made it where shortly after that, where you have to do the old school type so that it's not all digital. You still have a VHF type signal. Just in case something happens to the digital feed or whatever. But yeah, there's still
the backup,
so that you can still go. So and just like radio, you can have digital radio, but you can also have it over the airwaves so that you can still receive it for free.
Do you think AM will ever go away?
Well, See, here's the thing. It's like AM is bigger in other parts of the world than it is in the States. And AM is a stronger, more... AM is a better... AM's better for certain types of things, and it can go for longer distances, but it is a lower, if I remember correctly, it's lower quality and it's lower atmosphere. So like it has to really be directed, whereas FM can be like broadcast more out and can be like clearer, but you have to have a better receiver. You can receive AM better on a more crude device. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull up memories from
Dude, I used to
Mr.
have
Base's class.
Do you remember Jim Lemon, my next door neighbor? He had a shortwave radio, man, and fucking we get on that thing, and it was like, God, this was 1983, probably 4, something like that. And we would listen to like French radio stations, dude, and we were like, oh my God, listen to that, man. They're talking in a different language, you know? It was like, that was the first time I can remember having any interaction with something across the world, you know?
Yeah.
Looking back.
And that's a rare thing, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a rare thing. CB radio was my first like chat room.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like to me, being on a CB radio with a bunch of my buds and talking to people from like wherever, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like that to me was like, this isn't supposed to happen. I'm not supposed to talk to
It's
you.
exciting, yeah.
You know?
Right.
But yeah,
Crazy.
then chat rooms.
Right.
But anyway, guys, I got
All right, brother.
I gotta call my.
Cool, man.
Yeah, no problem,
Thank you,
dude.
dude. Thanks for coming on,
man.
bro.
All right. Yeah, thank you guys again, and yeah, just
We'll whittle that down to something.
Yeah.
Hey Barry.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a goat sucker?
What?
Goat sucker, chupacabra.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever seen one of those?
I haven't seen one personally, but I've heard about them.
Yeah, me too. If anybody's got a goat sucking story, if you got a goat sucker story, we want to hear it. If you got a Bigfoot story, we want to hear it. If you got a Loch Ness Monster story, or a Lake Champlain story, or Ogo Pogo story, or an Oingo Boingo story, that was an 80s band. Anyway, you got a weird cryptid story, we want to hear it.
I didn't even know what a cryptid was, man.
Yeah, dude, cryptids. They're like the animals that haven't been necessarily proven by science. They're the ones on the edge. You know, they're not necessarily known animals, but they're known animals. We don't have the bodies or anything like that. So they're kind of like half myth, half story, based in reality, but still in that weird mystery area that we don't know about yet. Cryptids are fun. Well, Anthony, you brought it this time. You did yourself right, my friend.
Yeah. He did a great job last time. He really
did too, man.
You know?
I think he did a great job both times, honestly.
Yeah, really.
So,
But great stuff, man. Great stuff. And man, I keep thinking about the car wreck that he was in. He talked about.
yeah.
I know what that feels like in a way when you're going through a traumatic situation and you feel the hand of fate or God or relative or whatever. It's very powerful, and it resonates with me. And I appreciate him sharing that story because I know it was something close to his heart.
Yeah, and just the fact that surviving a wreck alone.
Yeah.
With as little damage happening to him as it did.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
But having that kind of like calm because he felt whatever the presence,
right?
With him. That's wild, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this is something that happened to me just the other day, and I don't know if it's like it's not anywhere near as gravity of the moment, but it's just something that made me think, about a bigger thing and about, connections and stuff like that. But I was driving, and it was in a country road, and it was two lane, one on each side, and I had to kind of move over to pass this other car that's coming towards me, and there was a spot to where my car hit, and it kind of just jerked one, kind of like the wheels went, off in a direction. And if I would have veered into this car or veered into the ditch. I can't remember which, but like in that instant, without thinking, my left hand just like, I've got my right hand on the wheel, and my left hand is, it's like it's at 9, maybe about 8:45, and my right hand is about it's about 2. Maybe closer to 3. But my left hand just like grabs it and just holds it straight to where I don't lose control.
Right.
And I'm just like, I'm not even conscious of it. I'm not even aware of it. And like, to me, it's just like the immediate thought after I recognized what happened was like, that was Jerry. That was my dad. That was something there where that was something that he would have, done, that he maybe that I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. But to me, that's what it was.
Wow.
And in that moment, that's what I thought. And that's what I recognized in that. And it's just like,
isn't that strange, man? That's the first thing that came to your mind? Yeah. Out of everything that could come to your mind in that minute, that's the one thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just...
Because, like, I felt like, I felt this like strength and confidence and assuredness and just knew instinctively what to do. And those are things that I, always ascribed to my dad as having,
Right.
Because, my dad was Superman to me,
Right.
And,
yes.
And it's immediately what I think. And I never really think like that. I don't really do that, but that was just it. That was what I went to. So
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean, man. Because like those things that happen, you can't explain that to people. People are either understand it because they've had something like that happen, or they can't. Yeah. And somebody that can't understand that, you can't explain it to them in a way that it makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. I told the story before about when my grandmother passed. It doesn't make any sense. The only thing that I could say is it happened, and it was an out of body experience. And it was the thing that just, it just had a hold of me for a while. And I don't know what it is. Was it a visitation from my grandmother? I don't know. I'm not sure, but it sure felt like one, I don't discount it, and you have those feelings. In your life, you feel like for whatever reason, just out of the blue, you'll think of someone that has passed or something. Yeah. Maybe it's something that they used to say to you. Like I tell my kids all the time, like I harp on the same shit over and over and over and over again, because when I'm dead, I want them to have the voice of their father in their head saying, you can do this, or, pick yourself up, or whatever it is, it's, I don't know. It's just one of those things that
that's your job as a dad to do, instill it.
Yeah.
Especially your boys, but,
yes,
but,
it is. Yeah.
So,
but it's not, I relate to what you say, man. I get it, dude. I get it. And Anthony, obviously he had that same kind of a thing, and it's just cool. It's neat to hear these stories, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course, the story of finally somebody's talking about light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Right.
Although he didn't do it directly, how it related to that story.
Yeah.
And again, it was girls that did it, and according to the legend, and they go out there and they record it, and it's analog videotape.
Yep.
And they get voices, dude.
Right. That's so crazy. I wish that he could find that. I wish that he could find that tape, because I'd love to check that out, man. It's crazy. And then, of course, the conversation, like we said, we just go in so many different directions. And that's what's fun, is that, you get people on, man. People are smart. People are plugged in, man. And I think that's one great thing about we live in this time when we can educate ourselves on so many different things in this life, and it's fun to talk with people that are interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Great job, Anthony. Thank you for telling us and sharing once again. And you're always welcome back. Everybody who comes on the show is welcome back. Everybody who's listening is welcome to come and chat with us and tell stories. And we always say this: we let weird cover a lot of ground. We get a lot of supernatural, we get a lot of paranormal, we get some cryptid stuff, some Bigfoots, we get some UFOs, we get the ghosts, we get all that stuff. And then sometimes we get these crazy experiences, weird experiences that are outside of the normal, that are just epic stories.
Yeah.
And just, and hilarious and just wild. And that is what we have for you next week, when we are joined by, not only are we joined by our resident Bigfoot expert, special correspondent, and voice of the listener, Jeff Hubbard, but we are also joined by Jeff and mine's college buddy, Sam. And Sam could have a podcast of his own with everything that he's done in his life.
That's right.
And we are going to have a ton of Sam stories for you guys, because they are all just hilarious and crazy and wild. And this one kind of reminds me of Vinny's Crazy Night story.
Yeah.
And and some of the stuff that we've like our clown friends. So it's just crazy adventures that people just find themselves in by living these. This is just their life.
Yeah.
Weird shit happens. Right. And Sam's got a great story about being in Korea, going to Japan, trying to get back into Korea for his job. And it's a 2-day affair, but you will live it with him, man.
Yeah,
you
it's
will live
great.
it. It's great. It's a great story.
There's a lot of risks being taken, especially in those countries. There's drugs
in general, but especially in those countries.
Yeah. There's a lot of alcohol abuse. It's fun. It's just fun.
Other substances may have been ingested.
Yes.
So,
yeah, great stuff, man. Yeah, looking forward to that.
That will be a blast. So everybody, join us next week. We will hopefully, we're all going to make it through this, and there's no hopeful that we are absolutely going to make it through this. And so just be vigilant and stay inside. And when you can, as much as you can, and do all the things. Be kind to each other. Be considerate and think about each other. Let's bring everybody, bring our world together in a better level than we've, gone into this with.
That's right.
And just in the meantime, be safe.
Be weird.
As always, if you have a weird story, we want to hear it.
If you have a lot of them, we want to hear them all.
We can't do this podcast without your invaluable contributions.
Whether it's sharing your stories,
listening,
rating,
and spreading the word about the podcast. Thanks for listening. Till next time, be safe.
Be weird.
The stories presented on the What's Your Weird Story podcast are, to our knowledge, true experiences.